Hello and welcome to Matchday Live. My name is FG and I am joined by Kel Spellman. Hello. We are outside the Etihad Stadium today. You're probably wondering why I'm opening the show hanging, but I'll tell you it'll all be revealed later, but it is something to do with Xylem's latest initiative. I'm going to stop hanging and we're going to head to the Etihad Stadium where Ellen Ellard is in the Matchday Live studio.
Well, great to see those two hanging around. Welcome to Matchday Live. Good afternoon. Our boys in blue have arrived at the Etihad Stadium after a busy week. You can see the team news up there at the bottom of your screen as Pep rings in the changes. Edison back between the sticks. Lewis, Akanji, Diaz, Guardiola, Kovacic, Nunes. KDB is back after recovering from the illness that saw him out of the clash over in Madrid. Alvarez, Doku and Haaland leading the line. The substitutes are Ortega dropping back down to the bench, Walker, Ake, Grealish, Rodri, Bernardo, Gomez, Foden and Oscar Bob. And our opposition today, Luton Town, Kaminsky, Onyedema, Hashioka, Burke, Doherty, Berry, Clark, Barkley, Townsend, Chong and Morris wears the armband. Krul, Woodrow, Radakampanzu, Johnson, Harris, Chikoze, Nelson and Peasold are the substitutes for Luton. Kyle Walker making his way in. Jack Grealish having a lovely moment with a fan, Manu Akanji, making his way the last off the bus today. So welcome to the City TV studio. It is a delight today to be joined by former Manchester City shot stopper, got there in the end, David James, and someone with a very good connection to both clubs, Bruyne Horton. It's a pleasure to be joined by you today. Both of you actually well connected to both the sides. Bruyne was saying earlier, it's a tough one when you've got such a close connection to both of the teams.
It is. I've had my old Luton Town players on to me. Who do you want to win? Who do you want to win? Fans, David Pleat, everybody saying who don't want to. It's a hard one to pick, really. So my answer to most of them is, I want City to win the league and I want Luton to stay up. That's my prediction.
Very diplomatic.
I'm sitting on the fence.
Very diplomatic, yes. Yeah. Whereas I, as a Luton Town supporter, the same, wanted to go to stay up, but my thing is, I just look at the data, I look at what's what, and then as predictions, the predictions that you'll ask, I will give you what I think will happen as opposed to what I want to happen.
I love that. We've got a real mix of someone who, I think it's fair to say, you follow City with, you know, your soul and your passion, and you love watching the game for what it is. And then David, you've got that real analytical side of things. So we've got maybe a bit of passion over stats here, and we'll see how that battle sort of rages throughout the show, maybe.
Yeah, well, I'm passionate about my stats. Let's
passionate about the stats. You've got both. You've got the passion and the analytical side as well, which I'm sure I'm very excited to see some of the stats that you've prepped. First off, reaction to that team news. Any shocks and surprises in there for you?
A lot of pleasure, because the surprise, obviously, with Kevin De Bruyne not playing in the week, the concern was, first of all, why didn't he play? I think Pep picked a side against Real Madrid to not lose a game, weirdly. I think this was a two-leg affair, and he'd planned not to lose in Madrid, to come and win here. Simple as that. Kevin De Bruyne not involved. So him coming back, pleased with. Erling Haaland starting, pleased with. And this is the analytical part. I was at the FA Cup game against Luton for City. Ortega at the time in goal was just passing it straight into the middle to Haaland, knocking off to Kevin De Bruyne, played a 1-2 and then Haaland go and shoot. It was so simplistic, and the first team that I'd seen really take Luton apart. So I think there's a bit that I'm looking in this lineup that Pep will be expecting something similar for 45 minutes, and then we could see loads of changes.
After that illness against Real Madrid, you know, it was, you know, such a, I think it was a shock for City fans who expected KDB to start, and then obviously things changed quite quickly. How much of a relief is it, Bruyne, that he's back in the starting 11, back in the squad and ready to go?
Well, it was a sickness rather than an injury, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where he'd been out a long time with the injury.
Yeah.
And it's a massive miss, because for me, he's one of the best players in the world that's ever been. His passing range is absolutely unbelievable. So I thought he might have not risked him today and saved him for Real Madrid, but having said, David's correct there that if they're winning by a big margin or whatever, that he can always get him off as well. It's a strong lineup, no matter what you look at, isn't it? You see that somebody drops out, and then like Nunes, from Wolves, who I think is going to be a really good player, probably hasn't really stepped up to the mark as much as everybody would like from the City end at the moment, but he's a very, very good footballer. I like Kovacic, and when him and Rodri play together, they're very good. Rested Rodri, which apparently he was asking for, which happens, he's played an awful lot of games, 60-odd games he's played where they've never lost. That is some record. Now, for me, apart from myself as a holding midfield player, he's probably one of the best it's ever been.
So I'll shake, not you, Brian, shake my head at Kevin De Bruyne is finishing it. The other one which we haven't mentioned really is Edison.
Yeah.
The thing I like about Edison coming back, and it's funny, you think Pep knows everything about everything in football because he's won pretty much everything, is that he took his time with Kevin De Bruyne coming back in, and we could see the fruits of Kevin De Bruyne now, illness aside, when he's fit, as that highlight package showed there. With Jack Grealish, I think he was on a bench in one game, then started in that Luton match in the FA Cup and came off injured. Edison's been on the bench for a couple of games now. So again, it's kind of like I need to drip feed him in, and you'd say in the goalkeeping position that you're not physically as impactful as other positions, but even so, he's kept him on the bench. Now he's starting, and I think this is pretty much for him to start against Real Madrid in the Champions League.
With that in mind, obviously the clips that we just saw there from the Palace game, in the past fortnight, we've had Arsenal, Palace, Villa, and a trip to Real Madrid. That drip feeding back in, I think other clubs, other managers might want to rush the players back in at this point of a season. Is that just testament to Pep's tactical knowledge outside of and off the pitch? The fact that he's like, right, I know that we want these players back quickly, but also looking ahead to the congestion that we have, it's so important that we have them back when we know we're not going to injure them again.
And Jack Grealish getting injured against Luton because it was innocuous. I mean, I was there commentating on the game, and it's kind of like, hang on a minute, he's off. What happened? He'd only been on the bench for one game prior to that, and I think there's a bit where players, you know this as a manager, players would be screaming at you to get on and play games even though they're not 100% fit. And as a manager, sometimes Kevin De Bruyne, weirdly, so just go off on one of my things, is Pep doesn't make substitutions if City aren't winning, traditionally. But with Kevin De Bruyne against Newcastle in particular, they weren't in a winning position. Kevin De Bruyne comes on, switches the game. He knows that he needs Kevin at certain points, and he's prepared to go outside of his norms. You can't leave someone that good on the bench for that long. But yes, experience, I think, is what he's had.
The keeper situation, I thought I fell for him the other night because a couple of deflections, and you know better than anybody. You know, when you have deflections like that, there's nothing you can do, is there? So was that a reason why he's bringing Edison back today? I probably don't think so. I think, again, he's the best keeper in the world. And the reserve keeper's not bad either, is he? You know, but he's pretty good.
Pretty good.
I know he's
pretty good.
As a player, you want to play, even if you like, you've had a couple of games and you want to continue to play, and Edison stays on the sideline because you're in there and you've done well. Pep's got so many players to keep happy, hasn't he? You know, Jack Grealish couldn't get back in for a while. He's on the bench. He played against Real Madrid and was terrific. I love Jack Grealish. I think I liked him at Villa when they bought him here. 100 million, but for the job that he does for the team rather than for himself, where I thought he was at Villa, where he was like the main man. Here he's not just the main man. He works hard. He does the defensive side of it, and he had a hand in a couple of goals in Madrid. So I'm pleased for Jack.
We'll expand on that managerial perspective in just a few moments' time. But talking of keepers, we are going to head down pitch side, where Nicky Weaver is with FG.
Yes, thank you very much, Ellen. Welcome back to pitchside here at the Etihad Stadium. As you can see, I'm joined by an absolute legend in Nicky Weaver, and we have got the Manchester City team to play Luton. In goal, a return for Edison, back in between the sticks. And then a start for Rico Lewis, Manu Akanji, Ruben Diaz and Josko Vardiol, who scored his first goal for City midweek in Madrid. Mateo Kovacic starts, as does Nunes, and it's great to see Kevin De Bruyne back in the starting lineup as captain, recovering from illness. Julian Alvarez plays as well, as does Jeremy Doku and our number 9, Erling Haaland. The substitutes of Manchester City are Stefan Ortega, Kyle Walker, Nathan Ake, Jack Grealish, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, Sergio Gomez, Phil Foden and Oscar Bob. Now then, Nicky, we've seen the team. First things first, let's start with our goalkeeper, Edison. Great to see him back. Stefan Ortega did a fantastic job, but Pep did say that Edison was our number 1. As a goalkeeper yourself, let's talk about the qualities that man's got.
Listen, for me, I'm a huge fan of his. He's been fantastic since he's been at the club. He's almost took goalkeeping onto another level with his range of passing. I think the biggest thing in me when I see him is the trust, not he's got in himself, but the trust the other players have in him. Having said that, Stefan Ortega's come in. He came on in a really tricky game at Liverpool, midway through the second half, made some vital saves in that game, and he's performed admirably. And it just shows you how important it is to have, your second goalkeeper that's very good. But obviously Pep's come out and said that Edison is number one, which I think we all knew. But it's great that you've got Ortega there if anything happens to Edison again.
We've got an absolutely brilliant squad, and we're seeing that on show in today's game as well. And start for Rico Lewis again. Scored again recently in the Premier League away at Crystal Palace. He's a man that never lets us down. He plays so maturely for someone who's so young.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he burst on the scene last year, and then he probably didn't play as many minutes as he would have liked over the last few months, but the last few weeks that's changed for him. And he's a real Pep sort of player, isn't he? Really intelligent player. Can play right back, steps into midfield. So yeah, he's a fantastic player, and he's getting his chance and he's taking it.
And Josko Guardiola as well, speaking about getting a chance and taking it, he took a chance from outside the area in Madrid, albeit from a bit of a interesting first touch, but he took it well.
Yeah, he just sat up there for him nicely on his, on his right side, didn't he? And he's whipped it in the far corner. So a fantastic finish. And yeah, against Arsenal here, he was in the 0-0 draw. It was absolutely terrific. So he's been, I don't want to say under the radar because he's obviously a top player and he's played a lot of games, but he's someone who just gets about his business quietly, but performs 7, 8 out of 10 every single week. So he's reliable, and yeah, great that he's popping up with goals.
Now, of course, there's no Rodri in this Man City starting lineup today. We've got Núñez in, and we've got Kovacic in, and we've got De Bruyne, we think, in midfield. We don't really... I mean, if there's a game for him to rest, it could be today.
Yeah, I mean, I think without taking Luton too lightly, this is the sort of game you would want sandwiched in between two monster games against Madrid. You wouldn't fancy, going to Anfield today or tomorrow sort of thing, or Old Trafford. It has given him the opportunity. It's still going to be a difficult game today. We've got to do, the basics right and get the job done. But yeah, it is that opportunity for him just to put a few players in, and then obviously with one eye on Wednesday.
Who do you think the holding midfielder in this system is going to be then? Because it could potentially be like a pivot between Núñez and Kovacic.
Yeah, we've seen Kovacic do it before. He's sort of an underrated player, Kovacic. When you look at where he's been and what he's won, a really astute signing. So he can play in there. He can play further advanced, or he can play in there. And Núñez as well, a really good ball carrier. He can pick it up deep, and he's got great pace going forward. So yeah, and it'd be interesting to see Rico Lewis might just drop in there as well. So yeah, there's a lot of permutations within, as there always is with a Pep team. But yeah, listen, I think it's a team more than capable of beating Luton.
What you just said about Mateo Kovacic there is he's won so much in football. Him coming into this dressing room, which is obviously a massive dressing room just off winning the treble, he's going to add to that just based on the fact of what he's won, isn't he? How important is that in a dressing room?
Well, he's a winner. So he's come into a winner's dressing room, a winner, and he's done it over his career. So the lads will have been... I think he's a player that other players really appreciate playing with. He doesn't get many goals, although they did score one in the FA Cup against Luton, but he's just a real team player. He doesn't sort of crave the limelight like a lot of the players do. Gets on with his job. Pep brings him in the team, brings him out the team, and when he puts him in, there's just no issue because he's a top player and he's been playing at the top level for a long time.
He has indeed. And Jeremy Doku came in the summer as well. A start for him today. He's electrifying. I think the fans here at the Etihad and watching around the world absolutely love it when he's on the ball. Is this the type of game that's suited for him, do you think?
Yeah, it's the type of player that gets you off your seat, isn't it? What I'd like to see from him is just a little bit more end product. He's shown glimpses of his brilliance, and I think over a period of time, once he's had his first year settling in period, if you like, it'll be a really astute signing for the club. And one thing defenders don't like doing is defending against pace. And from a standing start, he is as quick as anything in the Premier League. So yeah, hopefully it's a good opportunity for him today. Luton, I don't think they're going to come and park the bus. They're going to have a little bit of caution there. But we've seen in the two games before, they will try and attack, and if they do, that obviously leaves space, and people like Doku sort of thrive on space.
And Erling had a very, very good game away at Luton as well. For that reason, it was 1v1 at some point with the centre-half. Do you think we're going to see that again? Do you think they're going to be brave again? I really do salute that the way that they played, but when you go one-on-one with Erling Haaland, I think there's only one winner.
Yeah, I mean, I won't fancy going one-on-one with him, that is for sure, and he seems to get the better of pretty much. I mean, the two Arsenal centre-backs did a really good job on him the other week, but they're two of the best centre-backs in the world, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how high line they play. Edison can find the balls over the top, and one thing you don't want to do as a goalkeeper, from my point of view, is have Erling Haaland bearing down on you. So let's hope we can replicate the form he showed in the FA Cup down at Kenilworth Road and get amongst the goals.
And it's a game of 90 minutes, and our bench is very, very strong. But we have to mention that Kyle Walker is back on the bench for this afternoon's game. With Wednesday in mind, that's a massive boost, isn't it?
Massive, because now he's on the bench. You would imagine that he'll be ready to play against Madrid on Wednesday. So yeah, huge. He's just the kind of player. He's just got better and better with age, and it gets faster and faster with age as well. So yeah, he's a fantastic player and really, really important for this City team.
We've got David James in the studio, so I'm just wondering if there's a message that you have for the another member of the goalkeeper union.
Yeah, listen, J-Mo was a great lad, and I tell you something, possibly the best goalkeeper I ever worked with, the only goalkeeper that I was ever shared the pitch with at the same time. So yeah, great lad, J-Mo. His ability was far more than I ever had. But yeah, great lad, and it's always nice to see him.
It is always nice to see him with his interesting drip but sensational stats. Let's head to David James and everybody else in the studio.
He's waving down. He's waving down. A word for Nicky Weaver, David?
Love you, Nick. He knows I love you.
Let's talk about Luton, a club that's close to both of your hearts. Missing 13 senior first-team players today. That's a huge hit, isn't it, David?
Yeah, it's so frustrating because, just to give a little background, I was Luton Town support. I was the first team I went to see. Similar to that, this is what I love about a lot of City fans. If City's the first team you saw and you fell in love with them, then there's nothing. I don't think there's any problem with that whatsoever. And me as a Luton Town fan, I watched them go all the way through the situation. So to see them come to the Premier League, and I have to just get this out here, to be here to commentate or talk about them in the Premier League is such a massive, massive thing. And like I say, when you start talking about the injuries, well, it gives other people a chance. And the frustration is that they're still in the bottom three. Every time Everton get points deducted, you're thinking, why haven't they got another few more, whatever. I would, as a Luton Town supporter, take Forest and Everton getting another 10 points deducted if it meant we were safe, because they've done something wrong and deserve to get punished for it. But they've been so close in so many games. Nicky and FG were there going through the goals in the FA Cup, which I mentioned before. That is the first time this season that I'd seen Luton absolutely take to the cleaners. It was almost effortless from Manchester City, and then the injuries become a problem. But I think for all these lads, Chong there, who's been doing fantastic well just of late, to be able to come to the Etihad knowing that if they win, however remarkable the achievement would be, it's part of something that they could survive in the Premier League and they could do something amazing.
And they've dropped quite a few points at home from positions where they look quite strong, Brian. That must be something that, as a former player of Luton, it must be quite hard to see them get so close, but then just not be able to see it over the line.
It's frustrating for the team, for the manager, for the supporters to be close and then lose late on. I mean, I agree with. There's no way they can play a high line like they did against Man City at Kenilworth Road. They just can't. Every team that comes here, and Man City look after me great, me and my wife when we come, and nearly every game. And every side that comes here comes and sit on the edge of the box. Arsenal did it, and Arsenal have never done it apparently before here and never won or drawn. And they've come and sat four across the 18-yard box, 4 or 5 in front of them, come and break us down. So the stats are something like 80% possession to 20. Could be so many shots on target, probably not as many. So they can't do that. That's suicide football, particularly against a team like City. So I can't see them doing that. I've just looked at so it looks like they might play a 4-4-1-1 today. So that probably means 4-5-1. So you'd probably see one striker on his own up front, the rest behind the ball, and try and frustrate City. And that's what happens in every game that's played here.
Jordan Clark, he scored the 2 goals in the FA Cup tie. Also scored in Luton's last game against Bournemouth.
What a goal, by the way.
It's a nice. It nestles so nicely, doesn't it? That ping.
Keeper should save.
It was beautiful. Sorry, you were saying.
No, do you think the keeper should have saved it?
No.
I don't think the goalkeeper sees. I don't think
it's quick enough.
Yeah, I don't think Ortega actually sees the shot, the contact, and that's the important thing. Is good angle here. By the time he gets the flight of the ball, it's already good. But it's a wonderful shot. And if that was Kevin De Bruyne, everyone would be raving about it. So, for Luton Town fans in Bedfordshire, we were raving about it. Anyway.
It's right in the top corner. That's the definition of top bins, isn't it?
I wouldn't say that. No, you can't.
It was a beauty.
Yeah,
and like you said, he scored on the weekend as well against Bournemouth in a vital win. This again came against the run of play. And at this point, Luton got back into the game. And as has been so typical for Luton this season, and you mentioned it to Bruyne there at the beginning, their first halves have been fantastic. Goals against generally has been very, very low. Leading in quite a number of games. Bournemouth was a sad one in the sense that they were 3-0 up and then the second half it all sort of goes a bit beat tong. That's their problem, second half. And what you're talking about, Brian, is what most teams encounter here is a really determined defensive performance for 45 minutes. Then second half, Man City just take over.
Well, they do because they wear them down. They're just the opposition are just chasing the ball, and you can physically see them, getting tired because that's all they're doing, chasing the ball. I would hate to be in a team. I never did it as a manager to set out like that, and I was lucky enough to have Alan Mullins, my manager at Brighton, David Pleat at Luton. They never set us up. We would come and have a go today. No matter what was the situation, we would come and play the system that we had played all season. He wouldn't do that, and I would never do that. Come and have a go. And people have come and had a go over the last couple of seasons. Brentford, Palace, where Townsend scored a wonder goal a couple of years ago. Come and had a little bit of a go. Because they're generally, they're too good. They wear people down, and the quality comes out, and they get tired, the legs get tired, mentally get tired because you're just chasing the ball.
Sorry, but when you just talk about the injuries, what's one of the big factors? Because Morris has got 9 goals this season, so has Adebayo, and he's been out for a little while now. And when you think about it, City's 2 top goal scorers, Phil Foden and Erling Haaland, the only 2 scorers they've got in double figures.
Yeah.
So Luton's 2 top goal scorers are somehow nearly close to Phil. Obviously, we know the couple at City are slightly better in a number of departments. But again, when you've got one of your top goal scorers missing, when you do get in these positions to shoot and you miss, then it just becomes more compounded.
Yeah.
With someone else missing today in Rodri, how important are the likes of Townsend going to be in that midfield battle, and with in particular today without Rodri?
I think the one who's going to enjoy it more than anyone is Barkley. He has been, I think he'll probably be voted Luton's player of the season because he's been tremendous. Even though Morris has scored 9 goals, I think 5 of them have been penalties. But Ross Barkley is a guy, so you want my stats, don't you?
Go for it.
Okay, Ross Barkley has scored with every header on target this season.
Hemp's had 1.
2.
He saw right through you there, Brian. Saw right through that one.
But Ross Barkley makes the team tick, and it's funny because I know the guys who regularly watch this show have heard me talk about Cancelo in the past, in previous season, about how many shots he had and missed, and how frustrating that can be for a team. Ross takes a lot of shots from outside the box and does not score. So again, you get into positions where you think, all right, here's a chance for us to take advantage of it. You hit the shot, you miss the target, opposition get the ball back, and then you're defending.
Someone else who we won't see today but is worth giving a shout is Issa Kabore, who's on loan from City at Luton. As a grounding of a player, going into a relegation scrap, going into that experience, Brian, how important will that be for him going forward as a learning experience?
It's a great experience, and to go from a youngster at Man City, and they've got so many good youngsters. I see a lot of the 18s and 21s, and they've got some outstanding, like Oscar Bob, who's just come through, hasn't he? And same as the lad there. It's fantastic for him to go there. It's just a shame that he can't play against his colleagues from Man City. But it's good for him, good for the club. It's good liaison with Luton and Man City, which I like. And it never does a player harm to go and get so many games in the Premier League, although it is hard for them when they're losing most of the weeks, and they're up against it most of the week. So he'd be loving to play out there today, wouldn't he? He would have loved it as a young lad that's come through the ranks at Man City to play against Haaland today. Wow, that would have been a test.
I think it's an interesting thing because a lot of people sort of bring these notions up. They're going, I mean, if you're in the Premier League to start with, you've done exceptionally well, irrespective of if you're on loan in a relegation battle or top of the table. But I'm just looking at that Man City lineup there and I'm thinking, how many of these players have played in relegation battles or in teams that are in relegation positions at any stage in their career? Oscar Bob hasn't.
No.
Rico Lewis hasn't. Phil Foden hasn't. I don't think Kevin De Bruyne has. So basically, if you're sending someone off to a relegation team, I'm not saying I don't think that's necessarily the pathway to be a Man City player long term.
But from a development and a wider thing, we look at the players who come through and necessarily, they come through City's youth system and then staying at City might not be the right thing for them. We've seen players go on.
Yeah.
And I think, from that perspective, it sets them up with a really good grounding, particularly if Luton can get out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Don't get me wrong.
Exactly. No, I'm just backing up with a bit of devil's advocate and say, if, like we've seen with Cole Palmer, obviously he's not gone into a relegation-bound team with Chelsea. But we've seen it.
But there was touch and go.
It was touch and go at times. But we've seen that being able to have that on a CV is something that could be brilliant.
I think, look, don't get me wrong, the quality that City have. And I always bring in Liverpool, as people know, but if you look at Liverpool using their youngsters at the moment, a lot of these youngsters have been basically ejected into the first team lineup. Whereas if you look at City, it's been like drip fed. Phil Foden, he's never been on loan. Many years ago, or a few years ago, when people were saying he should. Now Phil Foden is potentially a Ballon d'Or winner of the future. Do you know what I mean? So he's gone through that system the right way. Oscar Bob, who I think is the next Phil Foden. You've got Rico Lewis, who's proven himself. There's so many good youngsters who are coming through, and because the first team are so good, you don't have to rush them. Yeah. Similar to the injury situation. Going on loan is great because you're getting first team football. I just think that if you're going on loan to a relegation side, then it's not for a potentially for future at Manchester City, but maybe a Premier League Luton Town.
Yeah, it's a very interesting discussion.
I disagree with him. Totally. As a player, as a young player, instead of playing over in the stadium over there, and I'm going to play at Anfield maybe. Obviously, he can't play because he's on loan here, from City. We're going to play at Arsenal and Anfield and all those places rather than play over in the stadium over there. No, no brainer for me.
I love
Absolutely
that.
Not.
I love that we've got both sides of the debate and discussion. If you want to get involved, on the bottom of the screen you can see the number to WhatsApp. If you've got a question for our lovely guests today, make sure you get them in nice and early, and we will be going through them a little bit later on in the show. You may have noticed that we've got some lovely City in the Community shirts modelled. Lovely model.
Yours looks lovely.
You've got one on your chair, Brian. We'll get you to. Well, you can hold it up. You can hold it up. We'll get you doing a bit of modelling of it.
Actually, I've got blue. You've got white, and you've got a blue and white shirt.
Yeah, exactly. With a full spectrum of colours here. So it's the CITC takeover today. Supporters can get involved. Take a picture if you're out and about and see anything with the CITC branding. Use the hashtag CITC takeover, and we can head back pitch side where FG caught up with some very special guests earlier.
Today, all of our celebratory activities have been organised to raise awareness of City in the community, and they're all about empowering healthier lives through football. City in the community is so important to the people of Greater Manchester and beyond, and the impact they have is indescribable. And it's with great pleasure to say I am joined by Chief Executive Officer Mike Geary and one of the participants, Myla, here at pitchside. First things first, Mike, congratulations on all the amazing work City in the community have done so far. Let's talk to the people watching Matchday Live about the impact that it has on the community.
Yeah, I think when you think about the impact that we have now, what we're actually trying to do is continue that ethos and commitment and responsibility of the football club to support its community. Manchester City was formed as a community club, way back in the 1890s, and that's what stands us apart from all the other football clubs, that we evolved that way. So what we're trying to do today, like you say, is create healthier lives through football. We do that through a whole range of different programmes that kind of sit under three pillars, really. So it's about healthy people, which is around physical, mental health, healthy futures, so that education, employability pathways, and then healthy communities. So trying to create safe, inclusive environments, break down barriers to participation, tackle antisocial behaviour, a whole host of things.
Now, we saw Pep Guardiola wearing a City in the Community hoodie. I'm so lucky to have been given a City in the Community T-shirt as well. But fan activations or match days, City in the Community takeovers, why are they so important to you, and what is the benefit it has on the organisation?
Yeah, they're hugely important for us. The fans are a key part of the City family. They are the biggest part of the City family. And it's really important for us as a charity that we have opportunities like today to raise awareness, raise understanding, give the fans the knowledge about what their club is doing in the community. And ultimately, we want the fans to feel proud of what their club is doing out to support people in the community.
Mila, I have to ask you as well. You're one of our participants on the City Community Programme. Tell us about how much you've enjoyed it and what your favourite thing about City in the Community is.
I really like it because the coaches are really friendly and it keeps me active in the holidays, and the bonus is that I get to play football, which is my favourite sport, and I love to just score goals every time.
So who's your favourite Manchester City player then?
I've got a few, but my top are Kevin De Bruyne and Kyle Walker.
It's a very, very good choice. I'll come back to you, Mike, because Mike actually started as a participant in City in the Community, and then you went on to being a coach, and now here you are in a really, really good position as Chief Executive Officer. Talk us through that journey and the journey of City in the Community as a whole, the growth of it, and how you expect things to go in the future.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey. Like you say, CITC started in '86, and it was very much then a kind of football in the community scheme. I went on some soccer schools in the mid-90s with, coached by Alex Williams, and then, a few years later, I came back as a volunteer, then went part-time, and then eventually full-time in 2009. So, I've been at the football club now and at CITC for a long time. Did some work in the academy alongside that. And City in the Community as a charity has evolved in that time. In the early days, it was very much about football participation, football in schools, during holidays, etc. Now, you look at our tagline of healthier lives through football. That through football is really key. It's using football as a hook to engage young people, people from the community, to then have a positive impact on their life.
And how can the people watching Matchday Live and people in general help out with City in the Community? What can they do to help you guys?
Initially, like we say, the fans are super supportive, and we're incredibly grateful for all their support. We'd love the fans to be able to spread that message further and wider amongst the fan base and beyond, of the great work we are doing. And also, we're a charity. We are, and we get a lot of funds raised by fans, which are incredibly important to us. We're non-for-profit, we're self-sustainable. So now we've just launched a new initiative this season where we've got a City in the Community prize draw, which you can find all over the website and social media, and fans can donate either one-off or monthly, and in return for that they get into a draw and they can win a top prize of £2,500 or some signed shirts, so they can support us and hopefully win some stuff in return.
Well, keep up the absolutely amazing work. Mila, what do you think the score is going to be today?
I think it's going to be 3-1 to City.
3-1 to City. We hope for a City win, and we hope for City in the Community to continue doing such amazing work. Let's head back to the studio.
Yeah, it's great to see all that's going on around the Etihad today to support City and the community. As Mike said, you can support CITC and win big by signing up to the charity's prize draw. That's mancity.com/CITC prize draw. Entries cost £5 per ticket. Supporters can enter on a one-off basis or sign up for a direct debit, meaning they enter the draw monthly, all automatically. And there is £2,500 and lots more up for grabs. Now, one man who dedicated a lot of his time to the CITC is goalkeeping legend Alex Williams. This week, he sat down in Studio One to recall a huge moment in Luton Town folklore that had huge consequences for Manchester City.
So I want to start off with the fact that obviously the best clubs are made with a lot of ups and downs in history, and obviously a day in '83 where City were relegated is probably not a game that a lot of fans want to remember, but we're curious to know for you what the build-up was like to that day.
Yeah, it was a strange day. All season we'd struggled. Early on that season, we actually topped the league, and we slowly slid down the table and culminated in the fact we played Luton the last game of the season, and we only needed a point. At the Main Road Stadium, it was absolutely buzzing on the day. I don't know what the crowd was. I think it was 50,000 on paper, but I think there was a lot more people in the stadium than that. And, we were all looking forward to the game. And as players, we just thought, well, no problem. Luton Town, they're struggling. We only need a point. Shouldn't be a problem.
Can you talk us through the moment of the winning goal? You came out to punch the ball initially, and then Antic fired it from range through a sea of bodies. Do you remember that moment much?
I do. I remember it virtually every day. The ball came over, I came out and punched it clear. And as I got up off the ground, it fell to Radi Antic, who was about 30 yards out, and he just hit a screamer. And I remember diving to my right, and I got my fingers to it, but he hit it so well it actually went in the bottom corner of the net with about 10 minutes to go, and there was deadly silence within the Main Road Stadium. We couldn't believe we'd conceded the goal, and there wasn't really any time for us to try and get the goal back either. It was such a massive goal for Radiantician. You know, I do tell people from that he went on to manage Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, all because he scored a goal against me.
The game is also well known for David Pleat's celebration.
Yeah.
Do you remember that, or was it a case of more heading straight down the tunnel at full time?
That's a great question, because at the time we just wanted to get off the pitch. We couldn't believe we'd been beaten. David Pleat ran on. I wasn't aware of him running on at the time, but since the game I've seen countless number of videos where he's running on and jumping up with those white sort of shoes he had on. I think he had a beige suit on, and they just couldn't believe it. And of course Brian Horton, who went on eventually to manage Manchester City, was the captain of the Luton team at the Town, and we didn't think our paths would ever cross, but he came to the club as the manager, and I've since got to know quite well because he visits the Etihad Stadium virtually every home game.
Mentioning Brian, have you ever discussed the game with him at all?
We have on numerous occasions. I think, as with myself, he's just done an autobiography, and he uses that as a key focal point in his particular book. I mention it in mine, but we were just both there to do a job for our clubs at the time, and it just so happens on the day things fell their way and they beat us 1-0.
Finally, do you have a question for Brian about the game that you'd like him to answer on Matchday Live?
Yeah, I'd just like to know how they celebrated, really, because I didn't go out for about 3 months after that. But they must have had one hell of a celebration. I've met Brian, as I mentioned earlier, on a number of occasions, and we have a laugh about it now. And it's great to look back. But in some ways, I think the history of the club on and off the field helped to pave the way for where the club is today. So we did get promoted 2 years later back to the old First Division equivalent of today's Premier League. So I wiped the slate clean, but I look back on where we are today and think in some ways I contributed in a strange way to the club being where they are today.
I love that from Alex, saying that it, in some way he did contribute to Luton making it to the Premier League, and he says the slate is now wiped clean, no hard feelings. How did you celebrate after that? What a game!
It was unbelievable. We got drawn in. We played Everton on the previous Saturday at home. Scored first. David Moss scored first. Luton Town, and they beat us 5. They absolutely murdered us. They got Andy Gray, Reedy, Sheedy. They had a top side. Howard Kendall was manager, and then we went to Man United on the Monday night, and the gaffer pulls me into the office on Sunday morning because we travelled up on the Sunday. So I'm going to put 2 young kids alongside you tomorrow night, Gary Parker and Ray Daniels, about 17, 18 years old, and in fact signed them both when I was manager of Hull City. I said, Gaffer, we're going to Old Trafford tomorrow night, and they got Moses, Wilkins and Robson, and you're going to put 2 kids with me in midfield against those 3. Calm down, he said, we're fine, we're okay, we're all right. We lost 3-1, kids did great, we did okay, to be fair. Every result on the Tuesday night went against us, every single one. And now he's arranged a testimonial game for Ross Jenkins at Watford. So you know, it's like one for Man City, Man United. And I said, Gaffer, I'm not playing in that. I've played Saturday, Monday, I can't play in that. He said, no, I'm going to rest a few players. We got beat 4, so we got 5, 3, 4, 12 goals in 3 games, and now we've got to come to City on the Saturday and win, because every result went against us. So on the Friday we stayed at a hotel in Stafford called Tillington Hall, just off the motorway, and Radiantician, you saw the goal. Radi was a top player, ability second to none, and he went on to manage Real Madrid, Barcelona. He had a wonderful career in management. And showing again, I'll just give the ball away there, by the way, we just got it back. So we stayed there, and the lads were, I'd been in that situation before at Brighton, winning a relegation battle, some of them hadn't. And I said, Gaffer, is there any chance we can get the lads together at about 7 o'clock and have a couple of beers together? And, you know, they're really scared, basically. And Raddy said, well, what we used to do in Spain, on a Friday night, we always had a glass of red wine or white wine with dinner. So the gaffer said to me, OK, get the lads together, but no pints. You can have a couple of halves, and then a glass of wine with dinner to try and relax everybody, because the whole lot, and you can see the gaffer's reaction when we scored the goal there, can't you? And he whispered in my ear when he come over and kissed me on the cheek. He's had a lot of flack about his suit and his shoes there, and he come over and he whispered in my ear, give me a kiss on the cheek. He said, you can go anywhere you want now. I said, I know I can't gaff my contract's up today. That would never happen now, would it? Contract? And that's what we used to be like, 2-year contract up, then talk about a new one, which I did, and stayed another 12 months with him, because he was a fantastic coach, fantastic manager to work with, and I learned so much off him. And so much respect for Luton Town, and it sounds David's the same. You know, when you've been associated with the club, you are, aren't you? So I went to the Brighton-Luton game, first game of the season. Luton get Brighton. So I get down because I captained both teams. Steve Foster captained both teams. So we did a Q&A on the side of the pitch before the game, and everybody's saying the same thing. Who do you want to win? Who do you want to win? You can't win when they play these games, can you? You just can't win. And,
so you can't win or you can't lose?
Well, can't win or can't lose. Listen, I want City to win the league. Without a shadow of a doubt, I want Luton to stay up. So that's all I want to say today on it, because listen. What's the betting today? About 98% that Man City are going to win. You know, so it's going to be tough for Luton today. But I have so much respect for the people. I just saw the chairman and the vice chairman walking in when I was doing the Q&A outside, and they've done a fantastic job. Mick Harford, who's been very poorly, and he's done a great job in the recruitment. Because when you look at the recruitment and go £2 million on agents this year, they've spent, when the other teams have spent 90-100 million quid. And where they get players from, i.e. the Man City player on loan, Mick Harford's done a fantastic job there.
I love what you say, that you highlighted that the contract situation as something that wouldn't happen these days, and less so than having to play a testimonial the week before, and then also having a few glasses of the red wine the night before.
Probably would never happen again, no. But listen, it worked. It worked for us, because some of the younger lads, like I just mentioned, the two lads there, they were in the squad. Frankie Bunn was in the squad. We had some young players in that squad, you know, that had never been in situations. And unless you've been there, you can't comprehend what it's about, particularly a game like that where, you know, it's the last game of the season, and if you know, well, it was a draw. If Man City draw that day, then Luton Town down. Luton had to come and beat Man City, which is I would rather do. I could never play for a draw. I want to go and play every game for a win. I would never set out a team to go, come on, let's go to Anfield and see if we can scrape a draw. Let's go and see if we can beat them. You know, because, you know, they can get beat some days. You know, that happens.
How was it then like coming to manage City after that moment?
I'll still take a lot of flack. I do a lot of the Man City branches, and they won't have it when I come to that part of my story of my career, and they get to Luton Town. They go, no, we don't want to hear that story. Well, sorry, you can have it. And in my book, it's turn the first page over, and it's me in the Luton strip. So, listen, it's a game of football at the end of the day, isn't it? You know, I mean, it's not life or death, or is it? It's getting close, isn't it? Because we always want to do so well. Professional footballers are really a breed upon themselves, that they've got that inner thing that they want to do well, not just for themselves, for the families, for the fans, for the teammates, and no, everybody will feel the same way.
You brought in some big players during your time here, Uwe Rosler, Nicky, some big names you brought in. What was it like, you know, to be able to make those choices, bring the players in, and, you know, going from being a player to a manager, was that something that you enjoyed?
Well, yeah, because I've been a player manager at Hull City and not been able to probably spend 70 grand, and then Oxford the same, although probably the biggest signing now is either Jim Magilton or Paul Simpson from City for $250,000, but then they come here, and then I'd seen Nicky play, obviously being manager of Oxford United, I'd seen Nicky play for 5 years, come through the ranks, so I knew what Nicky was about. Niall Quinn actually said that Nicky was one of the best crossers of the ball he ever played with, so that's some statement off Niall. Walshy I'd played with, I knew what he was like, the lads loved him. Peter Beagrie came, was sensational going forward, not the best defensively, as wingers aren't. Uwe was my best signing. We got him through an agent, and who rang and just said, what are you looking for anything? And I said, well, I need a striker. Niall Quinn had just done his cruciate knee ligaments, and I had to sell Mike Sharon because the club needed the money. So Uwe said, you can have Uwe for a week. training. And again, how do you get these? He's come up on the Monday morning, and he was unbelievable in training. His mentality was absolutely spot on. So I said to Francis Lee, who was the chairman, I said I'm going to play him in the reserves tomorrow night at Main Road. But the problem was a lot of say. Well, at that time, first, second division sides come and watch your reserves because they try and get them on loan, i.e. the boy from Man City. And so I put him in the team Tuesday night. First half, absolutely, again, sensational. So I said to Francis, can we get him off, give him a contract? It's up to you now what you want to do. 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever you want to do. And Uwe jumped at the chance. And what a professional. So I put him in the team on Saturday at QPR. And he made a goal for Walshy, and then he just went on and on and on, didn't he? The fans loved him.
What's interesting, say it wouldn't happen now, 20 years ago, Pep Guardiola trained with Man City.
There you go.
I remember that? And we didn't take him.
Wow. But so, yeah.
Strange, eh?
Here in the end. Talking of Uwe, we have a very special message from the man himself.
Wow.
Hi, Brian. So nice to hear from you. I really miss our football talks, and I hope you're well. Have a wonderful time in the studio, and I'm very much looking forward to when next time in Manchester to go out and have a beer with you. Stay healthy, my friend. All the best.
Brilliant.
Beer or red wine?
The lads loved him. His mentality, and obviously didn't speak as much English as he speaks now, which wasn't brilliant. So we still speak to each other occasionally. He lived very close to me when he was manager here. Now he's gone abroad to manage. Absolutely fantastic mentality. Really, training was the same. He was focused. Where some players with great ability are not always the best trainers. You know, think they can get by.
Why are you looking at me?
Because I know what goalkeepers are like.
We've got another message as well for you from Jeff Whitley.
All right, here we are downstairs at the Etihad Stadium. It's with great pleasure to say I am joined by Jim Whitley, a former teammate of Brian Horton, who is in our Matchday Live studio. First things first, Jim, great to have you on Matchday Live.
Thanks for having us.
Let's talk about Brian then. Tell us everything you know about him.
Worst manager no, I'm kidding. He's the best guy I've ever seen. No, Brian Horton is fantastic. He was very good with me at Manchester City. Looked after me very well. He introduced so many tactics into the game, and we still talk today on various platforms. And he's a great man, and he's been on both sides, hasn't he? So,
what was his management style like?
A bit of both, really. There was the shout inside of him, which happened quite a lot in Manchester City times, but there was also the other times where he would praise you a lot if you were doing the right things and doing the right things within the game. It's part and parcel of being a manager.
And you spoke about his tactics as well.
Yeah.
What set him apart from other managers in terms of his tactical awareness?
Do you know what? He was different because there was a time where everyone said, "Who's Brian Horton?" You know, and he came in as a bit of an enigma. We didn't know what he was going to do. So whatever came about from him was very interesting from other managers that you may not have known about. So the whole concept was brilliant, and he just set things apart.
I feel like it's only right that we now head to the Matchday Live studio to get Brian's take on Jim. Jim, you have to join us on Matchday Live, by the way.
I'll be there. You just give me a call.
Give him the call. Let's head back to the studio.
Well, it was his brother. Well, I said Jeff. It was Jim.
It
was his brother.
It's hard to tell the difference between them. And they're both good players, it happens. They both came through the youth ranks and great lads.
Must be nice seeing those messages. And what you said about tactics, introducing so many tactics into the game, is that something that you felt that you were making big changes at the time?
Yeah, because I came and you know, because it was the Brian Who thing, and you know, what has he done? He's managed Hull City. You know, I'd been a manager for 10 years, so I thought I'd done enough homework or work to my apprenticeship, basically, to come and manage a big club. Who on earth is going to turn Man City down? You know, they come calling, they're going to say, well, no, I don't want it. So when I get a little bit of flack, I didn't bother at all. I just came and set my mind out to play as much attacking football as I could, i.e., it was Flitty and Steve Lomas at midfield. We were virtually 4-2-4. It was crazy football at times, but it was good football, and that's why the fans loved some of the games that I was manager of. Unfortunately, it only lasted 20 months, but I just love the Man City fans, the way they've treated me at that time and since. and it's been an absolute pleasure.
The fans and the players both definitely sounds. We are going to go back to FG, who is out roaming around the Etihad Stadium and is caught up with the Xylem project that's going out outside.
Yes, here we are at the Etihad Stadium with Xylem as we encourage fans to help reduce water consumption. And as you can see, I am joined by Kel Spellman and Manchester City legend Joleon Lescott, who's keeping very, very dry whilst leaving me and Kel outside.
Well, Kel was here from the crack of dawn, soaking. Said get here at 11:45. Kel was here at 5 to 11. Obviously standing here in the rain with no umbrella.
Ironically, we're doing the shower time challenge, and you've obviously quite clearly had your own type of Manchester shower today.
A Manchester shower in the au naturel range, you know what I mean? So it's very on brand, always on brand, you know what I mean? Always. Drowned rat comes to mind.
Let's talk about this then, the whole reason for us being here, Johnny. What's the importance of today?
Obviously, we're trying to encourage fans to reduce their showering time. The time on average is 5 minutes. That is a long time to have a shower when you think about it in comparison to hanging from the bar. It's a very long time. But no, yeah, if you can reduce your time, it all adds and helps and reduces the consumption.
We're right next to the East reception. We're expecting a lot of people to turn up when it's open. There already is loads of people waiting. You're looking forward to this afternoon before the game?
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to find out what are people's shower songs. I'm excited just to see how confident people are coming into it, because Joleon knows once you start hanging, it's a lot more difficult than people think. But also as well, we're trying to get people to download a shower timer as well, which you can also do at home, and that way it's going to help you have that less time in the shower, which will reduce your water as well. It's very, very simple and dead easy to get involved with.
There is a QR code here as well at the East reception, so feel free, if you're watching this somewhere around the stadium, to come and join Kel and Joleon. And to be honest with you, Joleon, I know for a fact you're setting the bar real high, because you are what we call a model athlete.
I don't know about that. I don't know about real high. We're sitting the bar. That's about it. And I'm touching the floor while I'm sitting that bar. So 45 seconds is my time. And if you beat that, Cal's going to go bare chest. Yeah. In the rain.
In the rain. And you can win some prizes as well. Are you going to give it a go?
I nearly just hit you with the mic then, apologies.
Are you giving it a go?
What are the prizes we can win?
Well, you're going to give it a go first, he said. Here we go.
Okay,
Ready?
I'll tell you what prizes you could win. Off we go. Prizes you could win is 2 tickets to the Tunnel Club. You also enter a draw to win a Manchester City home shirt. You'd also get to meet me and Joleon. That's a prize in itself. He did 45. See what I mean? What is your shower song, FG?
Oh, wow. Why the eyes flickering?
Meditate.
Listen, mate, the fatigue's hitting me. My shower time is something called drop, drop, drop.
Right.
I think we'll just head back now, won't we? But
yeah.
27 seconds, not bad, right?
It's not great.
What did you get?
I've not done it yet.
Well, if you want to see what Kel gets, come over to the East reception and please, please, please take a look at the Xylem initiative. It's very, very important, but also there's a lot of fun to be had here. So let's head back to the studio, and thank you, Joleon. Thank you, Kel.
Thank you.
Oh, 27 seconds.
Was it me, or did FG look taller after he did the hand?
He's just giving it a shop around. His spine's just got a little bit longer off the back of those 27 seconds. Huge game coming up here at the Etihad, Luton Town at home, and it could be huge for the title race. City getting through this one with 3 points would see them go top of the table at the end of the day, setting the pace for obviously Liverpool and Arsenal, who play tomorrow. David, how do you view the title race as things stand at the minute?
It's intriguing, and it's too easy to say. I mean, the game's running out to say that people still drop points, or everyone will drop points. A few weeks ago, it made sense, and it's happened. What's interesting is, and because I've got a slight bias towards Liverpool as well. When Arsenal drew the Champions League, it was like, great, that's going to affect their Premier League morale. Then Liverpool get beat by Atalanta, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that might affect their... Well, City are actually in the best position at the moment, because the draw in, if there is any influence on previous games, the draw against Real Madrid was a fantastic performance. Today against Luton, they just need to win. Keep players from getting injured, then they go into that Real Madrid thing, and that title race then becomes an advantage to Man City, because I still want to see how Liverpool and Arsenal are going to react to what they did in Europe with what were negative results.
It is so tight at the top, Brian. When you look at the points, you look at the goal difference, could it come down to something as small as goal difference come the end of the season, do you think?
It could, but City have got to do a lot of catching up there, haven't they, to be fair? That's why today probably they'll be looking at to maybe score as many as they can if that's the... I agree with David, win is more important than maybe goals because they'll go top again. I still fancy City to win it. Arsenal blew it, and I can see them doing it again. I just fancy City.
It's not going to be goal difference. It would require City to, I think, draw one and Arsenal and Liverpool to lose and then win all the others. That seems a little bit more complicated. I think City either win it straight or if they're not to win it, then it's between the other two, then it's goal difference.
Pep has said that he likes to be chased. He likes to be in this position, or when he likes to be the chaser this time round. I think he said that before the Arsenal game. Do you think the players prefer to be chased or the chaser, Brian?
I'd rather be up there with the points and
up there
people
with the points.
chasing me without a shadow of a doubt. There's nothing they can do about it. That's what it is, and it's good for football. There's probably 3 rather than just 2. Very, very interesting, but I still think City, with what they've done and the players they've got, have got enough to win it outright.
Chased or chaser, David?
I think they would rather be in the lead at this stage or in the next couple of weeks. I don't think they want to be chasing with 2 or 3 games to go. Too many complications.
Is it something that you'd look at a lot as players? They always say we go game to game, we go to game to game. Is that really the case, or are you looking at it?
I don't think you can do that. I mean, there's nothing in modern football with sports analytics and anything, coaching. Pep's starting lineup against Real Madrid was not to beat Real Madrid on Wednesday. It was to bring them back here to beat them, I think. This lineup wasn't to put the best team out. This was all geared around being able to contain the moment with the future in hand. I think players want to get this game out of the way. Luton want this game out of the way for one reason or another, even if it's a defeat, so it's gone. Real Madrid is probably the most important thing. The one thing they have to be, and I'm sorry to go over time, having watched Liverpool against Atalanta in the midweek, if City think this game is already won and fans think that this game is already won, that's when you get surprised.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I was just going to say exactly the same thing. Once you get that in your mind, go out, oh, this is easy, we'll just turn up and win. That's when the danger sign comes in, let me tell you. So they can't be like that. Pep doesn't normally allow it because he will. No, I'm normally sitting in the director's box and I do watch managers, what they're doing, and he is so intense, isn't he, that he will not let them rest or slip up for a moment. He's just an eternal winner.
Quick score predictions before we hand over to our commentary team. We'll start with you, David.
Well, my Luton head is like, no. I think this will be, I'm going to go 3-0. I think it will be an early 3-0. And I think then Pep make changes and the game will just peter out. But everyone's got to keep watching until the end because there's magnificent stuff to talk about afterwards.
Brian?
I'm going to go City 2-0. I hate going against my old side, but the quality they've got, as you say there, De Bruyne back in, Haaland playing, Doku's last couple of games he's been very, very sharp, needs to probably be better with his end product, but that's a good side they've got out there today, even with the ones that he's rested.
Oh no, Erling Haaland just said I'm going to score 4 today.
Well, we can see the players in the tunnel. You mentioned Jeremy Doku just having a last few words with his teammates. He has said that he wants to show the fans his celebration a little bit more often. Maybe we will catch a glimpse of his gritty today. We're going to hand you over to the commentary team of Nicky Weaver, who is with Alistair Mann.
Thank you, Ellen. Welcome to the Etihad Stadium. 2 sets of players are in the tunnel. The atmosphere already building. A damp Manchester day, but a slick surface ready for another significant game. The champions can put themselves 2 points clear at the top of the table, ahead of Liverpool and Arsenal's games tomorrow. Sandwiched in between the 2 legs of the Titanic Champions League tie with Real Madrid, relegation-threatened Luton Town arrive at the Etihad Stadium with a similar desire for points, but for very different reasons. It's the 3rd time the Blues have faced the newly promoted club this season, with wins at Kenilworth Road in both the League and FA Cup. It is, though, the first time City have played a home match against them since April 1999, a third-tier fixture. To say plenty has changed in those 25 years since is surely one of the greatest understatements. Well, talking of changes, Pep Guardiola has made 6 in all, with the schedule throwing up must-win games every few days. Ederson is back in goal for the first time since his injury at Liverpool. Rico Lewis, Matheus Nunes, Jeremy Doku, Julian Alvarez and Kevin De Bruyne are the others. The latter fully recovered from his sickness bug, which ruled him out at the Bernabeu. Among the substitutes today is the welcome sight of both Kyle Walker and Nathan Ake after their recent injuries. Well, Luton's selection process was a lot simpler, as they've been hit with a catalogue of injuries, leaving them with as many as 13 senior players unavailable